We will call the meeting in order. If you can have a roll call, make sure we have a.
Great, thank you. Member Nylander.
Here.
Member Durrett.
Here.
Member Young.
Here.
And Chairman Douglas.
Here.
And Member Merritt will not be joining us today. Great. Just first, Deputy Bala, can we just confirm that we have complied with the open meeting law?
We have, sir.
Great. All right. Thanks, Chair. We can go to agenda item number 1, public comment. Great. So we'll open this up to public comment. If there is anybody here in Las Vegas who wishes to provide public comment, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Christina Ullman. I am the president of the Chamber of Cannabis. On behalf of the members of the Chamber, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to the Cannabis Compliance Board for being accessible and communicative during the legislative process. We appreciate the clarity you were able to provide on various topics throughout the session and your willingness to field questions from our organization pertaining to various matters. We respect the CCB's willingness to take on new cannabis lounge regulations and licensing more cannabis commerce forward and to move cannabis commerce forward more inclusively. We understand that the process will take time and a number of workshops and likely committee work. The Chamber and its members stand ready to participate and hope to have a role in most of the discussions pertaining to cannabis lounges. Thank you for your commitment to social equity, diversity, and expanding ownership opportunities in the industry. We're grateful that the board and the staff of the CCB have done an excellent job in their first year and congratulate you on including more voices to participate in your deliberations, including through the Cannabis Advisory Committee. Thank you so much.
Great. Do we have anyone else wishing to provide public comment in Las Vegas? Okay, Chair, we can move on to meeting minutes. No, excuse me. Agenda item number 2. This is the swearing in of Cannabis Compliance Board Post Officer Shannon Snow. So, Chair, members of the board, agenda item number 2 is a special agenda item today, as we will be swearing in Mr. Shannon Snow as the CCB's newest compliance enforcement investigator. What makes this special is that Mr. Snow worked as a compliance audit investigator for the Marijuana Enforcement Division from October 2017 until the CCB took over in July 2019, where he stayed on as an audit investigator. Mr. Snow then showed an interest in taking his career in a different direction, and we made the decision to support Mr. Snow as he entered Post Academy at the beginning of this year. Mr. Snow graduated from Post Academy last month and today will be sworn in as the CCB's newest enforcement investigator and one of the homegrown varieties. He brings with him a strong understanding of CCB regulations, given his prior work as a CCB audit investigator, and we are proud of his commitment and dedication to furthering the CCB mission in this new capacity. So with that, Ms. Withers, you may proceed.
Sir, raise your right hand, please. I, say your name,
I, Shannon Snow,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and the government
the Constitution and the government
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and the government
and the Constitution and the government
of the state of Nevada
of the state of Nevada
against all enemies, whether foreign or domestic,
against all enemies, either foreign or domestic,
and that I will bear true faith,
and that I will bear a true faith,
allegiance, and loyalty
allegiance, and loyalty
to the same,
any
ordinance, resolution, or law
ordinance, resolution, or law
of the state notwithstanding,
of the state notwithstanding,
that I will well and faithfully perform
that I will well and faithfully perform
all the duties of the state
all the duties of the state
of Nevada Cannabis Compliance
of the Nevada Cannabis Compliance
Enforcement Investigator,
on
which I am about to enter.
of which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Officer Snow, congratulations from the board.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. We are back on the grid, item 3.
Great. So we'll move on to agenda item number 3. This is the meeting minutes. Chair, back to you.
That would be our meeting minutes, consideration for approval of the May 25th, 2021 Cannabis Compliance Board meetings minutes with any necessary corrections or deletions. And with that, if we have any corrections or deletions, please so speak. If not, can we have a motion?
Member Drat, for the record, I move to approve the meeting minutes from the May 25th, 2021 hearing.
We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, this is Member Nylander. I would second that motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any additional discussion as to the minutes or corrections be noted? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Anyone in opposition? Hearing none. We will move on to item number 4, request for transfers of interest.
Great, thank you. So agenda item number 4, this is the request for transfers of interest. Chief Staley will present on this item. I would ask that any representatives and counsel that are here representing the licensees on the agenda item to please come up to the podium when your item is being presented. So thank you, Chief Staley.
Good morning. Chair Douglas, Member Nylander, Member Durrett, and Member Young. For the record, I am David Staley, Chief Investigator for the CCB. I'm here to present agenda item number 4, which consists of one transfer of interest or TOI application. Item number 4 is a TOI application for CW Nevada LLC or CW and Fortress Equities LLC or Fortress Equities. Fortress Equities is owned by David Shapiro, a real estate investor in California and Nevada. TOI number 210021 requests approval for the sale of CW cultivation license RC011 in Nye County to Shapiro and Fortress Equities. CW experienced solvency issues during late 2018, and since cannabis is still illegal at the federal level, CW could not take advantage of federal bankruptcy protection. As a result, CW filed an application to appoint receiver with the 8th Judicial District Court in Clark County on February 27th of 2019. The board reviewed and approved the sale of CW's Clark County assets at its May meeting. The proposed sale of CW license RC011 to Shapiro and Fortress Equities was facilitated by the court-appointed receiver. Fortress Equities is currently negotiating a proposed management agreement, which will come before the board for approval at a later date. Staff identified no areas of concern with this application. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Dean Halili, David Shapiro, Dotan Melek, John Savage, Jeff Donato, and Sheba Statham are present today to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Douglas, I'll return this item to you.
Good morning. With that, before we get to our licensees, any board member have any questions of our staff? Hearing none. Any representations CW wish, well, our new licensee wishes to make this morning?
Good morning, Director Klimas, Chair Douglas, members of the board. My name is John Savage. I represent Dotan Melek, the receiver for CB Nevada.
Good morning, Dotan Melek, receiver.
Jeff Donato here with representative of the receiver for licensing and compliance.
Sorry. Good morning, Sheba Statham here with the receiver, acting in compliance for regulatory issues.
I'm David Shapiro.
Good morning, I'm Dean Jalili, manager of Fortress Equities ORCL. I apologize, that is the correct LLC is Fortress Equities ORCL.
Thank you for that. With that, any board members have any questions they might have? If not, then I think a motion for approval would be appropriate. Can we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item number 4, CW Nevada LLC, as reflected on the agenda.
Do we have a second?
Member Drat, I second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it. You're approved. Thank you very much, and thank you for getting in, and we look forward to a very fruitful business.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5, consideration of approval of lease agreements.
So this item will also be presented by Chief Staley.
Chair Douglas, members of the board, for the record, I'm David Staley, Chief Investigator for the CCB. I'm here to present agenda items number 5 and number 6, which consists of requests for approval of various management and lease agreements. Item number 5A is a shopping center retail lease between Commerce Park Medical LLC and Cheetah Development. Commerce Park owns and operates adult use cannabis retail store RD329 in the Cactus Plaza Shopping Center owned by Cheetah. Normally, a lease agreement would not be presented to the board for approval. However, the lease agreement between Commerce Park and Cheetah provides that Commerce Park will pay Cheetah 8% of net sales over $15 million yearly on top of the $270,000 annual yearly base lease amount. CCB staff have reviewed the lease agreement and found it in proper form with no issues or concerns. I'm available for any questions, and my understanding is that Amanda, Connor, and Mitch Britton are present today via Zoom to address any questions that you may have as well. With that, Chair Douglas, I'll turn this item back to you.
All right, thank you very much. Board members have any questions of our staff before we open it up to Attorney Connor?
This is Member Nylander, just real quick for Mr. Staley. So the reason this is in front of us is because of it, at least potentially could trigger like a rev share requirement.
I'm sorry, Member Nylander, I missed that last part.
Yeah, so the reason it's in front of us today is because of the financial arrangement.
Yes, sir. The agreement is here for board approval today due to the participation and revenue clause in the lease agreement.
Thank you.
Any other board member have any questions at this point? Council wishes to make representations, please do so.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. I just would like to thank staff for their work on reviewing this lease and getting it in front of you for review. And my client would kindly request approval of the same.
All right, then it looks like it would be appropriate for a motion of approval for this transfer of this interest.
Mr. Chairman, this is Member Nylander. I would move that we approve item number 5, which is the lease agreement involving Commerce Park Medical as stated on the public agenda.
It's been so moved. Do we have a second?
Member Drat, I second.
It's been moved in second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. There's no nays and no abstentions. Motion's carried. Your transfer of interest is approved. Thank you very much. Moves us down to item number 5, consideration approval of lease agreement, Commerce Park Medical LLC and Cheetah Development.
Chair, we're actually moving on to agenda item 6. So Chief Staley, if you want to go on with item 6.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Item 6A is a management services agreement between F&L Investments LLC and Harvest Cheyenne Holdings LLC for the management of Green Mart of Nevada LLC and its cultivation licenses C038 and RC038. The two companies have filed a TOI application with the board, and the management agreement provides for Harvest Cheyenne to begin the additional build-out and operation of Green Mart's cultivation facilities while the board staff processes the TOI. CCB staff have reviewed the management agreement and found it in proper form with no issues or concerns. I'm available for your questions, and my understanding is that Tiffany Kaler is present here today to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Douglas, I'll turn this item back to you.
All right, board members have any questions of staff before we get to our licensees representative? Hearing no questions, representations.
Thank you very much, Chair Douglas, Director Climas, and members of the board. My name is Tiffany Kaler from the law firm of Armstrong Teasdale. On behalf of Harvest Cheyenne Holdings, LLC, as manager under this management services agreement, I respectfully request the approval of the agreement in accordance with staff recommendation, and I'm available today to answer any questions this board may have, and I appreciate the board's consideration of this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, questions? Obviously, you've done a very good job. No questions. With that, can we have a motion for approval?
Member Durrett, I move to approve agenda item 6A, the management service agreement between F&L Investments and Harvest Cheyenne Holdings.
Do we have a second?
This is Member Nylander. I would second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the consideration of the management service agreement, please say aye.
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 We have any abstentions? We have any nays? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 6B is the management services agreement between Harvest of Nevada LLC and Vertical Horizon LLC for the management of harvest cultivation licenses C205, RC205, and production licenses P136 and RP136 in West Wendover, Nevada. The two companies plan to file a TOI application with the board, and the management agreement provides for Vertical Horizon to begin the construction and operation of harvest cultivation and production facilities while board staff processes the TOI. CCB staff have reviewed the agreement and found it in proper form with no issues or concerns. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Tiffany Kaler is present today to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Douglas, I'll turn this item back to you.
Before we hear from Ms. Taylor, do we have any questions of our staff? Hearing no questions from staff, Ms. Taylor.
Hello, thank you again, Chair Douglas, Director Climas, and members of the board. My name is Tiffany Kaler here from the law firm of Armstrong Teasdale on behalf of Harvest of Nevada LLC under this management services agreement. I respectfully request the approval of the agreement in accordance with staff recommendation, and I'm available to answer any questions this board may have today. Appreciate your consideration of this matter. Thank you.
Any questions, Ms. Taylor, reference this agreement? No questions. Then if we can have a motion for approval.
Brianna Durrett, for the record, I move to approve agenda item 6B, the management services agreement between Harvest of Nevada and Vertical Horizon.
We now have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
This is Member Nylander. I would second the motion.
Thank you. With that, do we have any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Being no nays and no abstentions, this matter is approved. Thank you very much. We would move to agenda item number 7, consideration and approval of proposed settlement agreements to resolve disciplinary actions.
Great, thank you, Chair. So agenda item number 7, this is the consideration of proposed settlement agreements. Chris Rath, counsel for the CCB, will present the 4 proposed settlement agreements for the board to consider individually. I'd again ask that representatives and counsel here representing licensees to please come up to the podium when your item is being presented. I do believe we have at least one joining us via Zoom. So with that, Deputy Rath.
Thank you, Director Climas. Chair, members of the board, good morning. We have 4 settlement agreements up for approval on this meeting under agenda item 7. As usual, for each one on the agenda, I'll provide you with a brief summary of the case and the Attorney General's recommendation for approval. You may then ask me any questions you wish, and counsel for the respondents will also be present to respond to any questions you may have. You may then decide on the action to be taken for each. I just got word that the first 2, the council may be present by Zoom, but I'm not sure if they are on yet.
Chris, this is Rusty Graff. We're available for Las Vegas Wellness.
Okay, perfect. We'll start with the first one then, Chair. All right, so the first settlement agreement up for approval is Cannabis Compliance Board versus Las Vegas Wellness and Compassion, CCB case number 2020-29. This complaint was filed and served on February 23, 2021. The respondent answered the complaint on March 12, 2021. CCB then assigned a hearing officer and the matter proceeded into the administrative disciplinary process. During the course of the administrative process, the counsel for respondent and the Attorney General's office in consultation with CCB staff undertook negotiations and came to a mutually agreeable proposal for resolution of this matter, and that is embodied in the settlement agreement before you. The events at issue occurred at a cultivation facility in March 2019 under the Department of Taxation. The allegations in the complaint involve the underage son of one of the owners volunteering at the facility, and there were certain misrepresentations made about that issue by the staff of the facility. To be more specific, the individual at issue was 19 years old, almost 20 years old. Set forth in the proposed settlement agreement to resolve the matter, respondent admitted to 2 Category 2 violations. The first for allowing a person under the age of 21 to volunteer at a cannabis establishment, and the second for an unintentional false statement to agents of the Marijuana Enforcement Division. Respondent also admitted to a Category 3 violation for allowing disorderly activity at its facility. Respondent also agreed to the imposition of a civil penalty in the amount of $75,000. Respondent provided a plan of correction, which is summarized in paragraph 18 of the settlement agreement, and CCB staff has approved the plan of correction. The plan of correction includes the retention of a human resources director to audit and monitor compliance with agent card requirements and other regulations in general. Employees have also been trained to be more transparent with CCB agents in any investigations. Based on this, the Attorney General recommends and requests CCB approve this settlement agreement. I'm available for any questions, and counsel for the respondent is also online.
Okay, does any board member have any questions for counsel at this point? Mr. Rath. If we can have counsel for Wellness, Las Vegas Wellness.
Good morning, Your Honor. Rusty Graff on behalf of Las Vegas Wellness. Also present are Mr. Chad Wallace and Ranson Shepard. We concur with the statement of Mr. Rath as to the proposed settlement and are ready to proceed unless the board has any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I have one quick question. Good morning,
Please
Mr. Kraft.
Good morning, Mr. Nealon.
Our council noted that the remediation plan is in place. I just wanted to ask you on the record that if the company's in compliance with that plan.
We are in 100% compliance, Your Honor, Mr. Board Member.
Thank you.
And for the record, your client fully understands the terms and conditions of the stipulation in order for settlement of this?
They do, Your Honor.
Okay, with that, if we can have a motion for approval of this settlement.
Mr. Chairman, this is Member Nylander. I would move for approval item number 7A, CCB versus Las Vegas Wellness and Compassion. And I should note for the record, the case number is 2021-29.
Thank you. If we can have a second, please.
Rihanna Jarrett, for the record, I second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of accepting the stipulation for settlement of the disciplinary action in case number 2021-29. Please say aye.
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 Aye. Being no nays, no abstentions, this matter carries. Thank the licensee for their settlement of this and their compliance plan so that we have no future indiscretions. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We will move on.
Thank you, Chair. The next item under 7B is Cannabis Compliance Board versus Las Vegas Wellness and Compassion, case number 2021-32. This complaint was filed and served on February 23, 2021. It also involves Las Vegas Wellness and Compassion, but concerns their production facility for events which occurred in 2020. The respondent answered the complaint on March 12, 2021. CCB then assigned a hearing officer and the matter proceeded into the administrative disciplinary process. During that process, counsel respondent and the Attorney General's office in consultation with CCB staff undertook negotiations and came to a mutually agreeable proposal for resolution of this matter, which is contained within the settlement agreement before you. Again, the events at issue occurred at the respondent's production facility, and this occurred in October 2020 when the NCCR was in effect. The allegations in this complaint involved the failure to comply with hand washing requirements, failure to comply with hot water delivery requirements, failure to maintain stocked hand washing facilities, impermissible equipment used for extraction, and issues with keeping equipment surfaces clean. As set forth in the settlement agreement, post-settlement agreement, to resolve the matter, respondent admitted to one Category 3 violation, one Category 4 violation, and 3 Category 5 violations. Respondent also agreed to the imposition of a civil penalty in the amount of $20,000. As the respondent also provided a plan of correction, which is again summarized in paragraph 17 of the settlement agreement, and the CCB staff has approved this plan of correction. The plan of correction includes, first of all, the fact that the operations were ceased until hot water was restored. Second, the respondent implemented temperature logs to make sure that the loss of hot water is quickly detected. They instituted measures to ensure the proper cleaning of equipment surfaces, including the loose use of cleaning logs as part of standard operating procedures. Based on this, the Attorney General recommends and requests the CCB approve the settlement agreement. If you have any questions, I'm available, as is counsel.
Members of our board, any questions? Mr. Rath? And do we have counsel present on behalf of Zenway?
Yes, Your Honor. Rusty Graff, again, appearing for Las Vegas Wellness Center, and also present are Ranson Shepard and Chad Wallace for Las Vegas Wellness Center.
As to the stipulation order for settlement of disciplinary action, your client understands in total what the stipulation is and does agree with the terms and conditions so set forth.
They do, Your Honor, and we concur with the recitation of the settlement terms and conditions as stated by Mr. Rath.
And we do appreciate the proposed plan for future compliance as to this matter, and your client again agrees with that plan to facilitate the action so that this does not happen again.
They do, Your Honor.
With that, can we have a motion as to Zenway Corp settlement unless there are questions as to 2021-34?
Chair, we're still under case number 2020-32, which is Las Vegas Wellness and Compassion. It's under item B.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
With that correction?
Member Dret, for the record, I move to approve agenda item 7B, the stipulation and agreement between the CCB and Las Vegas Wellness and Compassion, case number 2021-32.
With that, that was our motion. Do we have a second?
This is Member Young. I second that.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. No nays, no abstentions. This matter carries. Motion's approved. Stipulation settled. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you,
We'll
Board.
move to our next item.
Thank you, Chair. Agenda item C is the settlement agreement for Cannabis Compliance Board versus Zenway Corp. Case number 2021-34. This complaint was filed and served on March 23, 2021. The respondent, through counsel, chose to enter into settlement negotiations after service of the complaint, so has not yet filed an answer at this point. They were granted an extension to answer and will not need to file an answer if the settlement agreement is approved today. If not, then it would go back into the disciplinary process and they would be filing an answer. After retention of counsel, respondent also revised and improved on its plan of correction, which had been submitted before, and completed settlement negotiations with the Attorney General's office, which remained in consultation with CCB staff. The parties then came to a mutually agreeable proposal for resolution of this matter, which is set forth in the settlement agreement before you. The events at issue in this matter occurred at respondent's cultivation facility in November 2020, when the NCCR was in effect. The allegations in this complaint include an employee without a valid agent card, conducting research and development activities without approval, a failure to prevent the consumption of alcohol and cannabis at a room in the facility used for storage and as an employee break room, and the failure to meet certain security requirements. As set forth in the proposed settlement agreement to resolve this matter, respondent admitted to one Category 2 violation, one Category 3 violation, one Category 4 violation, and one Category 5 violation. Respondent also agreed to the imposition of a civil penalty in the amount of $40,000. For the settlement agreement, the payment of the civil penalty may be made in installments with penalties for any late payments. The respondent also provided a plan of correction, which CCB staff approved. Respondent then thereafter refined and improved on that plan of correction and submitted a second plan of correction, which CCB staff has also improved. The plans of correction are summarized in paragraph 21 of the proposed settlement agreement. They include the retention of regulatory counsel and a change in management to ensure regulatory compliance. They also include new procedures to ensure agent cards remain up to date. The licensee has also cleaned out the room in question and has restricted access to that room, and they have installed additional security cameras. Based on this, the Attorney General recommends and requests that the CCB approve this settlement agreement. I'm available for any questions, as is counsel for respondents.
With that, does board member have any questions, Mr. Rath, our Attorney General, for this matter? Hearing none. Counsel?
Good morning. Derek Connor, the law firm of Connor & Connor, appearing on behalf of Zenway Corp. Thank you for letting us be here today. I'm very excited to finally be here in person. My client would also like to thank the staff for working with us and being very patient and working through this process. They have corrected all the items and look forward to moving forward as a fully compliant facility. I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
And you've discussed stipulation and settlement with your client, and they understand those terms and conditions?
Yes, we have.
And they have additionally agreed to a fine for the violations they agreed to?
Yes, they did.
With that, can we have a motion as 2021-34?
Brianna Durrett for the record. I move to approve agenda item 7C, the stipulation and agreement between the CCB and Zenway Corp, case number 2021-34.
We have a motion for acceptance of stipulation for settlement disciplinary action. Do we have a second?
This is Member Young. I will second that.
Thank you, Doctor. With that, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? None. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? Matter carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That moves us to item number D.
Thank you, Chair. Under item D, the final case is Cannabis Compliance Board versus Digipath, case number 2021-37. Chair, member of the board, this case did not involve a complaint. Rather, as you recall, at the last CCB meeting in May, the CCB considered requests for transfers of interest by respondent Digipath. Prior to that May meeting, CCB staff had alerted Digipath and its counsel to certain concerns they had with their TOI requests, including lack of prior approval for transfers and the fact that there were some owners, officers, and directors who did not possess valid agent cards when they should have. CCB staff then involved the Attorney General's office to see if an agreement in principle could be reached to resolve these concerns prior to the board's meeting in May. Negotiations took place, and the Attorney General, in consultation with staff, came to a mutually agreeable resolution with respondent. Those terms were actually placed on the record at the last CCB meeting in May. Since that time, we have completed a settlement agreement with those terms. The settlement agreement was put together and executed, and that is the settlement agreement before you today. As indicated in the settlement agreement, respondent waived its rights to the filing and service of a disciplinary complaint and admitted to the imposition of one Category 2 violation for failing to notify the Marijuana Enforcement Division of the Department of Taxation of a change in ownership interest. Respondent also admitted to 2 Category 4 violations on the agent card issues. Respondent also agreed to pay $20,000 as a civil penalty. Per the settlement agreement, the payment of the civil penalty may be made in installments with penalties for any late payments. Once full payment has been made, the TOIs at issue will be deemed approved. CCB staff agrees that these admitted violations and the civil penalty appropriately address their concerns on the TOIs, and the licensee has been fully advised about and understands the requirements and procedures for obtaining approval for transfers of interest moving forward. They also understand the requirements for agent cards. Based on the foregoing, the Attorney General recommends and requests the CCB approve this settlement agreement. I'm available for any questions, and counsel for the licensee is also present for any questions.
That was previously board in part, but as to this, any questions based upon the statements of Mr. Rath? Hearing none, we will shift to our licensee.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Douglas, Executive Director, members of the board. My name is Neil Tomlinson, here representing Digipath. I'm from the Brownstein Hyatt firm. We just would like to thank staff, including Chief Staley and Senior Deputy Attorney General Rath, for their work on this. Took several discussions to work this out. We did that, and I appreciate their cooperation, and we concur with the settlement agreement. I have with me Mr. Bruce Rabin and Mr. Todd Denkin from Digipath, and we ask that you approve the proposed settlement agreement. Thank you.
Any questions by board members? Hearing none, I would thank Digipath and their representatives as well as licensees for cooperation. With that, the recommendation is for acceptance of the stipulation for settlement disciplinary action. We have a motion.
Brianna Durrett, for the record, I move to approve item 7D, the stipulated agreement between Cannabis Compliance Board and Digipath, case number 2021-37.
We now have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Member Nylander. I would second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor of the motion for settlement as to 2021-7, please say aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it. We have no nays. We have no abstentions. Matter carries. Thank you very much for your consideration, your work on this.
Thank you.
Good luck. We now move to agenda item number 8.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. Agenda item number 8 relates to the petition filed pursuant to NRS 678A-460 by Crooked Wine, doing business as Blackbird Logistics. Deputy Director Michael Miles is here to present on this item.
Good morning. For the record, I'm Michael Miles, Deputy Director of the CCB. As discussed in the workshop last week, Blackbird Logistics submitted a NCCR 4.45 petition requesting a change to the two-driver rule under NCCR 13.025, Section 5, to a single driver. To date, the board has granted emergency relief due to COVID-19 and has waived the two-driver requirement for a limited time. They're requesting an additional extension, at least until the potential new regulation is made permanent. CCB staff has no objection to this extension. As to the regulation change, we are waiting further information from Blackbird as requested by Board Member Durrett. However, staff feels some distance requirements should still be implemented that would require two drivers in distribution trucks. At the next board meeting, staff intends to present the amendment to NCCR 13.025, Section 5, which would require two drivers for any haul over 50 miles. However, we are open to input from Blackbird or the industry on the distance requirement as well as a minimum monetary amount before two drivers are required. CCB staff is available to answer any additional questions from the board. With that, Chair, I will turn it back to you.
Thank you. With that asked of this matter, if we have a representative of Blackbird who wishes to make a comment this morning, now would be the appropriate time.
Representatives from Blackbird Chair submitted a written public comment.
And we did receive that. Anyone else wish to make a comment as of this particular matter? Hearing none at this time. If the board wishes to weigh in before we accept action. Mr. Nylander,
Mr. Chairman, given the history with this, I would support extending the non-enforcement of the regulation for some period of time until we get the additional information that Member Durrett requested. I would note the staff did not have any concerns about the extension, and I just don't know how long it should be. I guess maybe at least 3 months, just so that we can have enough time to have another hearing and see where that goes. And then we can always make the effective date of whatever changes we make, if we make any, coincide with that time frame. But I'm open to whatever time frame the board thinks is appropriate.
From a staff standpoint, so we have an empty statement, roughly what do we propose getting this back on for the board to consider changing the regulation?
Hopefully that'll be at the July board meeting.
Then I would make the motion to continue the waiver that we are presently doing as this two-driver requirement until that meeting, and that would be the July meeting.
Chair, this is Tyler Climate for the record. I would just add, while 30 days, that would be the adoption, there would still then be a period of time for the regulations, or at least before they would become effective. So either way, but if we did want to extend it out, 60 days would allow time for those regulations to become effective to consider.
Not to be optimistic about what might happen, let's just go to July, and in July, if we need to extend further, we will do so, or we will know what we're dealing with.
Mr. Chairman, this is Member Nylander. I would second your motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additional discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye. Hearing no nays, no abstentions, this matter will carry.
Chair, moving on to agenda item number 9. This is approvals and resolutions. So this is the notice of final licensure. This is provided to the board as an informational item of licenses that have become final since the last board meeting. We've got the Chief of Administration, Steve Gilbert, here to present on these three. Chief Gilbert, go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Steve Gilbert for the record. Agenda 9A is an informational item presented as a notice to the board of establishments that have been issued their final license since the last board meeting. We have 3 licenses to note today. Clear River LLC, RD 231. On December 5th, 2018, Clear River LLC was issued a conditional license for adult use retail store in the city of North Las Vegas. On April 26th, 2021, the Cannabis Compliance Board conducted a pre-opening inspection and audit of the facility located at 7650 West Charleston Boulevard in Las Vegas. The inspection and audit results revealed the facility was in compliance with NCCR and Title 56 of NRS. A statement of no deficiency was issued on May 13th of 2021, and as a result, the CCB approved and issued final license to Clear River LLC on May 19th, 2021. Number 2, Alternative Medicine Association LC T013. On August 25th, 2017, Alternative Medicine Association LC was issued a conditional license for adult use distribution facility in the city of Las Vegas. On October 2nd, 2019, the Marijuana Enforcement Division conducted a pre-opening inspection and audit of the facility located in Las Vegas. The inspection and audit staff approved the plan of correction submitted by Alternative Medicine LC. An additional inspection was conducted on May 12th, 2021 by the CCB. The result of the inspection and audit confirmed the facility was in compliance with NCCR and Title 56 of NRS. And as a result, the CCB approved and issued a final license to Alternative Medicine Association LC on May 28th, 2021. Number 3, Deep Roots Harvest Incorporated, RD 398. On December 5th, 2018, Deep Roots Harvest Incorporated was issued a conditional license for adult use retail store in the city of North Las Vegas. On May 10th, 2021, the Cannabis Compliance Board conducted a pre-opening inspection and audit of the facility located at 1306 West Craig Road, Suite A in North Las Vegas. The inspection and audit results revealed the facility was in compliance with NCCR and Title 56 of NRS. A statement of no deficiency was issued on May 26th of 2021, and as a result, the CCB approved and issued a final license to Deep Roots Harvest Incorporated on May 27th, 2021. With that, Chair and members of the board, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions as to these final licensing decisions? Hearing none, then we will move to a cannabis, an update by our director on the Cannabis Advisory Commission. 10.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the board, agenda item number 10, this is the Cannabis Advisory Commission updates and actions. So this will likely be a regular agenda item on future meetings. Happy to report that the Cannabis Advisory Commission will meet for the first time on July 13th. As you are aware, the commission consists of 12 members. I chair the committee as the executive director of the CCB. There are 8 industry and policy experts appointed by the governor, as well as the director of the Nevada Department of Public Safety, the director of the Nevada Department of Taxation, and the Nevada Attorney General. The commission will be tasked with studying cannabis-related issues and making recommendations to this board on regulatory and policy matters. The commission will take its direction from this board, and through various subcommittees will have the ability to hold public meetings where important policy conversations can be had with appropriate stakeholders and public input. With the first meeting on July 13th, the commission will begin its policy and regulatory work immediately. We will be establishing a number of subcommittees at the first meeting, and will set an agenda that recognizes both short-term and long-term goals. The short-term goals relate to legislation recently passed out of the 81st legislative session. This work will focus on a number of regulatory issues surrounding consumption lounges, including such topics as social equity, air quality, ready-to-consume products, and security and safety. The long-term goals of these subcommittees will focus on topics such as market stability, public health awareness, combating the illicit market, and equity, diversity, and inclusion. These topics will be in addition to any additional or future requests from this board, the legislature, or the governor, as detailed in the CAC's authorizing legislation and reflected in the NCCR. I will be tasking the commission subcommittees as their first order of business to begin addressing aspects around consumption lounges so that this board can properly vet and move forward with implementing AB 341. I look forward to updating the board on the commission's work and progress as we move forward, and will take any questions from the board regarding the CAC before moving on. And I'll note that I will touch a little bit more on consumption lounges in my next item, which is the executive director's report. So with that, Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
With that, if there's any questions as to the advisory board from our board members, so state. If not, we will move on to our executive director's report.
Great, thank you, Chair. So agenda item number 11, this is the executive director's report. 2 items. I'm going to touch on consumption lounges and then briefly on agent registration cards. There's been a lot of attention surrounding lounges in AB 341. We'll likely continue to see this kind of attention as we move forward with implementation. Our team has already started to work on the beginning stages of the development and implementation of lounges. For the provisions of the bill, current adult use retail stores will likely receive communication from the CCB starting at the beginning of July. This communication will indicate that the store may qualify for a retail attached lounge. Additionally, we will be asking current adult use retail stores to indicate if they plan to apply for a retail consumption lounge. The lounge license is a new establishment license, and licensees, both current and prospective, will need to undergo a background and suitability check and will need to be deemed suitable by this board before they'll be awarded a license. As I mentioned in the last agenda item, the Cannabis Advisory Commission will soon get started on some of the regulatory groundwork that needs to take place. The CAC, through its subcommittees, will each have a role to play in researching and making recommendations around the policy and regulations that must be in place before lounges can open. The CCB, at the same time, will continue to develop and flesh out what will be needed for application and final licensing. The board will eventually need to vote after input and analysis from the CAC to adopt regulations around the operation of consumption lounges. From that point, we'll proceed with an application period. So as you can see, there's a lot of work ahead of us to facilitate these lounges. Given what needs to happen, we are realistically looking at the beginning to mid-year 2022 before we see any lounge licenses approved. And that date is going to come very quickly. This process is going to be transparent. What information that is shared is going to be shared with everyone and the public. It's going to start with the public workshops by the CAC and continue with an accountable application and licensing period. The CCB will soon be launching a consumption lounge resource page that will live on our website. This page will include basic information about lounge implementation, but will remain a living page that will be updated continually as we move forward. Our goal is to make this a central resource for the industry, local governments, and members of the public. So obviously a lot more to come on this topic, but with that, I can answer any questions on the lounges right now or move on to agent cards. Sure.
Go ahead, move forward.
Great. Lastly, just a note regarding agent cards. As I discussed at the last meeting, we do not currently have any delays other than the normal processing time for mailing a payment and turning around the temporary card. Therefore, the blanket extension of the expiration date for temporary cards, which we are currently operating under, will expire on June 30th, 2021. Now, we do have some individuals that are still waiting, or that we are still waiting to receive their background check back from the FBI or DPS. This could be for a number of reasons, whether it's a delay in processing, disposition clarification, or the background check itself. The CCB obviously can't control the background check process, but we do engage with both the FBI and DPS to ensure they have everything they need from an applicant. Regardless, the CCB will be reaching out to each individual who's awaiting a background check that would be affected by the June 30th, 2021 date. This will be in the form of an email. We'll ask to confirm their status, provide any additional extension, and if the delay is a result of the longer than anticipated background check time, then we will provide them with an additional extension. Moving forward, we will address any additional background check processing delays and any need for an extension on a case-by-case basis rather than issue blanket extensions. Again, I would like to thank our agent card team for their incredible work over the last year to bring us where we're at. We look forward to continuing to further refine the agent card process to ensure it's working for both the industry and our regulators. Chair, that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions by board members or areas would like Mr. Clements to report on in the future? Hearing none, then we will move forward. We note for the record, item number 12 is our next meeting date. It's July 27, 2021. And with that, as always, item number 13, items for future agendas should send in to our director. And now we get to our public comment area.
Chairman, can I ask about a future agenda? When do we expect to hear proposed changes to that we had discussed at the workshop relating to retesting, which I believe are going to be submitted by THC of Nevada.
Thank you, Member Durrett, Tyler Climas for the record. And so we did leave that workshop last week. THC Nevada indicated that they would be providing changes. As soon as we get those changes, we will post those online as public comment received after. So we'll notice the vote for adoption at the end of this week. But of course, dependent or any changes made before release will be dependent on what THC Nevada submits and of course will be made public.
All right, that's our second public comment period.
Great, thank you, Chair. So we'll now move on to agenda item 14, public comment. Is there any member of the public wishing to provide public comment in Las Vegas today? I see none, Chair.
That would, then we will close our public comment period. For the record, hope everyone enjoys the 4th of July coming up. And again, noting next board meeting is 27th of July, 2021. We are adjourned.